Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, great recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day, guys. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means, share it with somebody who might get something out of it. Other than that, to get into it, the topic for today, guys, is getting well. And this is actually from the Daily Reflections, the AA version of the Just for Today NA meditation. So, getting well. Very deep, sometimes quite forgotten, damaging emotional conflicts persist below the level of consciousness. Only through positive action can I remove the remains of guilt and shame brought on by my actions and active addiction. Throughout my misadventures while using, those close would ask, "Why are you doing this?" or say, "You're only hurting yourself." Little did I know just how true those words were. Although I had harmed many others, some of my behaviors caused grave wounds to my soul. Taking positive actions in recovery provide me a way of forgiving myself. I alleviate much of the hidden damage by helping others around me, and whenever possible, I make amends to those I hurt. In taking these actions, I free myself of the heavy burdens, thus contributing to my healing. And again, guys, that's part of why I tell you guys all the time: find a group, find any kind of support group for whatever it is you might be, suffering from, or whatever burdens you're carrying. And, there are ways of relieving those burdens. It doesn't matter what you've been through. First and foremost, you got to make sure you got to take whatever actions to stop it. If it's not something self-inflicted, like those of us in alcoholism and addiction, then, if somebody is abusing you or molesting you, then by all means, take whatever proper steps. Call the authorities, talk to somebody you can trust, do whatever you got to do to make that stop. But this channel, as you guys know, is geared more towards those of us that were self-inflicting most of these damages. I know, at least I did for myself. And the way that I've managed to put those things behind me, guys, is through prayer and meditation, and then taking actions that allow me to feel better about myself. Because that's the biggest thing, guys. I carried around so much remorse and guilt. I hated the person that I was. I wasn't even being me. I was literally reacting to stupid decisions and poor choices for so long that I was 180 degrees from who I truly am. And it wasn't until I finally surrendered, turned my will over to God, surrendered my burdens to God, that I finally found a way to start feeling better about those things. And again, we talk about it all the time through prayer and meditation, but as you get ideas in prayer and meditation, and one of the main reasons I love to go to my AA home group is I'm around other like-minded people, and there's newcomers coming in behind me. I can offer a hand, and it's by taking these good actions, making good decisions and doing good things that have allowed me to feel better about myself. Taking the time to be introspective through prayer and meditation and finding out what really matters to me, stopping cutting corners, stopping breaking laws in every way, shape, or form. And that sounds so foreign coming out of my mouth, because I'm somebody that was breaking the laws every day of the week, no matter what I did. I could stay home and sleep all day and still break about 7 laws back in those days. I don't do that today, guys. I follow everything to the letter of the day. I mean, I'm not perfect. I still slip up. I still have my, jaywalking or, whatever else. But, guys, I used to, go to Home Depot with a pocket full of money and steal supplies, and for no reason other than just to do so. And I don't do that today, and I feel horrible about the fact that I did. And I do as much as I can to make up for all those behaviors. That's why I try to hand out a few dollars here and there. I'm always, helpful. Today I was going to get a little bit of drywall for a job I'm doing. There's a guy over there trying to load like 15 sheets of drywall onto the cart by himself. So, I stopped, and instead of just sitting there waiting like the other 4 people are doing, I went over and gave him a hand, because, 4 by 8 sheets of drywall are a hell of a lot easier to deal with 2 people. It's little things like that, guys. Nothing earth-shattering. Nothing that's costing me a ton of money or breaking my back. But it's just doing things like that have changed the way I see myself and the way I feel about myself. Just being willing to make amends to anybody and everybody I hurt, taking positive actions in every area of my life, have made all the difference. And there's nothing more important than the way you feel about yourself. Like I said, I talk about 100 times, the 2 most important relationships you have are the relationship with yourself and the relationship with your higher power. If you take actions that make you feel good about those two relationships, keep you happy in those two relationships, everything else in your life will fall into place. Just through sheer alignment and sheer law of attraction, you'll start inviting better opportunities, better people, better situations in your life. Guys, if I know for me in the past, I would get into recovery, and I would try to still hang out in the same people, places, and things, and you can't do that. Not if you're honestly trying to make changes. If you think you can just abstain and keep your life the same, then I can't tell you what to do. Well, I can tell you what to do. Don't do that. But if you're gonna make your own decisions. But I'm telling you right now, from my experience, I've tried this 1,000 times and I failed miserably every single time. Faster and faster each time, and it didn't last long the first time. So it was getting to the point where the minute I was alone, because people that are down like to keep other people down. Hurt people hurt people. Healed people help people. And that's why you want to hang, like the slogan is, hang with the winners, right? It's one of the reasons I like to surround myself with people in recovery. Because yes, people do relapse, but you know what? There's a much lower percentage of people, and and even those people aren't outwardly trying to drag you down with it. If I was still working for my old boss, by now he'd be trying to feed me cocaine, just because it made it easier for him and that he can get me under his thumb. And I thought, he one of the reasons I had to leave my job is he didn't like this newfound confidence and self-respect I had for myself, because he was one of the people that loved to take advantage of the fact that I felt terrible about everything I was doing. I was constantly trying to step up in other areas to make up for it, so he took full advantage of that, and I can't blame him for that. Something I allowed people to do to me on a regular basis. Today, that's not the case, and that's why I'm doing so much better in life. That's why I'm so much happier in life, guys. I've taken the time to figure out what it is that was wrong in my life, and figure out what it is that matters to me, and make those changes. And it was very, very uncomfortable. It was not an easy thing to do in the beginning, guys. I literally had to sit there and do the opposite of every instinct I had, and that's in early days, it doesn't make you feel very good about yourself until you start taking those actions. When you start seeing the results of doing the right thing, and then again, it gets easier and easier. As you do something repeatedly, it becomes your norm. It becomes your new, your baseline. And that's the beauty of our lives, guys. It doesn't matter how many mistakes, what mistakes you've made. As soon as you start changing those behaviors, you'll start to feel better about them. And eventually you can put just about anything behind you. I mean, if you're out here ripping and robbing and raping and killing people, then that might be a little different. That might come after you for the rest of your life. But the normal bullshit that we did, an addiction, just lying, cheating, stealing, those are things you can put behind you by donating your time, helping other people, and being completely and utterly honest. There's nothing more freeing than when you start telling your war stories from the actual having taken accountability for them part of you, because then you see the actual part you played in. You see the behaviors that got you there, and you can start to make those changes. That's the whole reason we preach, unyielding honesty here, because it's not about impressing somebody else. It's about getting your own brain to acknowledge that you had a part in these things. Because, guys, as long as we're sitting there playing the victim card, and yes, we've all been victimized at different points, but again, somehow, some way, we allowed that to happen. I mean, unless you're an 8-year-old kid getting raped by a parent, or somebody in charge. Yeah, clearly that person didn't do anything to invite that in. But, most of us go into addiction that ended up in really shitty situations with people taking advantage of us. Well, it's because we were doing shitty things, hanging around with people that were also doing shitty things. We're desperate just like we were, which is how we ended up there in the first place. And then, of course, they're going to take advantage of us. Like, one thing I couldn't stand in the days that I lived in Waltham, again, I was never that bad of a person. I always had a little bit of decency to me. Yet I found myself living on the streets of Waltham, surrounded by the homeless crowd down there, which were just the bottom of the barrel. And decent people, but they just couldn't be honest, and they would literally, whoever had something today would get stolen from, and then they'd team up with the other people that stole from them next week to steal from somebody else, and it was just a revolving circle, and everybody had to forgive each other because they all needed each other, and I couldn't stand it. It was just nonstop drama and nonsense, and it was because nobody wanted to take accountability, and nobody had enough to rely on themselves that they could hold somebody else accountable for their actions either, because yeah, they stole from you today, but you're stealing from them next week, and it was just, these are the things that wear on us, and these are the things that make us feel like shit when we come into early recovery, because those are what's fresh in our mind. But as you sit there and listen to another recovering addict that has gotten through those things, hopefully that gives you the hope to make you understand that you too, provided you continue to do better and by taking positive action, by sharing your story honestly, by being willing to, hold the door for another, or listen to another who's having a hard day. That's the way you start feeling better about those things, guys. If you continue to make the same mistakes, you're never going to heal from them. But it's by being honest and open about them, and listening and sharing your story openly, and then you'll hear as you share repeatedly. And I used to wonder about that, like, why do we share repeatedly after we told our story? Well, it's amazing how much I've seen my story change in this last 7 months. I look forward to every time I get a chance to speak in a meeting, because I'd like to see the progress that I've made as I tell the same thing over and over again. It comes from a completely different point of view, and I feel I'm very fortunate, because I kind of feel like I've fast tracked this, because I've done it through my higher power. God has put a lot of good things into my life, and I've taken the time to work with a therapist and recovery coach and recovery advisors, and go and speak in commitments. And I've already, in 7 short months, seen my story evolve to a true, authentic version that I could have never owned up to back when I was still using. I wouldn't have the mental clarity to try and found it at that point. I wasn't capable of it. But then, those are the ways that as I do so, I take accountability and I be honest about it, and then I progress further down, and I learn more things, and I get more good experiences, and I get more introspective, and I learn more, and I'm able to tell you every time I tell the story, I'm adding this new level of honesty that I'm finding as I go to it, and it's very, very refreshing, and it's also very healing. That's where the true healing comes in. That's where expansion comes in. That's where growth comes in. That's why we do these things, guys. You can, us left by ourselves, we may not, you'll get better if you abstain and stay home and to go out, but you're not progressing, you're not living a better life. This is about moving past, not just putting down the drug. So that's obviously step one. Well, step one's admitting you have a problem, but once you get sober, you don't just, and I've seen many people that do this, guys. I've seen people that come in the program and stay in angry, dry, drunk for 10 years. And eventually they always go back out, because they're not putting any quality of life together. The reason I share all the lessons that I do every day is because I want, and for myself, I want a better life, and I'm finding a better life. My life, I'm on the fast track to success right now, and it's absolutely beautiful. It makes me happy beyond measure. That's why I do these things every day, and that's why I preach it every day, because it'll work. If it works for me, it's going to work for you. It works for everybody. That's why that's why there's literally millions of members of recovery that get together and do these meetings and share these lessons together. Guys, getting well takes positive action. That is the lesson of today. We're going to call it that. There's no need to ramble for another 10 minutes. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Guys, always remember, God loves you. I love you. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one.